Hi, this is Mark Richards, creator of CandidatesChair.com. Thanks for visiting the site and welcome to this free seminar on making LinkedIn more effective, a few simple tips. I'd like to share in this seminar some of the tips that had a big impact on making me more effective. After I joined LinkedIn, I felt my effectiveness was still a little bit like this, missing a couple of links. In talking it over with some of my colleagues, here's 6 of the tips that they shared, and now I feel like my LinkedIn is much more like this. So let's start with your profile. It's one of the most important things you'll do because it gets the most views of anything else on LinkedIn. Go to GuyKawasaki.com and in his blog do a search on LinkedIn and you'll find this example. I think it's one of the simplest ones to help you build a nice profile. The more information you put in your profile, the more people can find you. Now, as a job candidate, you want to consider what terms a company would search on if they were seeking to fill your role, because you want to make sure these are also included in your LinkedIn profile somewhere. One more tip on this, remember that people don't Google answers, they Google questions. Your skills are the answers. Your accomplishments are the things that they're seeking. I often felt my connections were much like that stack of business cards sitting on my desk. Really wasn't sure who was there and not sure how I knew them. Tags on LinkedIn help you solve that because it allows you to categorize your connections. It really makes it much more like a library so you can answer who do I know, so you can either make referrals or know who to ask for help. Now, once you're in connections, if you hit manage, you can add as many tags as you want. For example, let's say you have a number of colleagues who are management consultants. You can create a tag for that. In fact, I would add a tag for whatever you need to in order to make it easier to search through your connections. The number of connections you have is interesting. When either of you can help one another, that's when they become relevant. Adding tags to your connections will help make them more relevant. Now here are 2 things to help keep your connections up to date. Under contacts, if you click add connections, you can do either of these. We're all continually adding contacts onto our email account. If you do a refresh on LinkedIn, it'll check your email account and your LinkedIn account and see who do you need to connect with. Now this is great because it gives you another reason to reach out and connect with this person. One tip here is that if you use the automatic function within LinkedIn, it does not allow you to personalize the message before it's sent out. So what I recommend is finding out who do you need to connect with and then do individual invitations because that'll raise the probability of them connecting with you. Your colleagues. Your former colleagues are both joining LinkedIn and also expanding their profile so it includes your former employer. So what you want to do is a periodic check on your colleagues, classmates, and use the people you may know function to see if you find someone you might have overlooked. When it comes to your former colleagues, people that know your work are some of the best sources for referrals because if you've established a level of trust and confidence in them, it stays. Even if it's 10 years ago, it's still there, and those are the people that be willing to step up on your behalf. So you want to find them and add them into your network. Groups are a great way to find people in a targeted company or an industry when someone in your network can't do it for you. And the reason groups are so useful is because most people allow other group members to contact them directly. So once you're in a group and you find someone you want to connect with, you click on their profile and then just hit send message and you can reach out to them directly, even if the 2 of you are not current connections. Now when I'm looking at groups, I think about the ones that are targeted firms are likely to participate. I also like those that are related to my experience because that's where most likely jobs that I'm interested in will be placed. I like the size of the group to be at least 100 to 200 just because that's big enough to make a nice network. I actually shy away from groups that are too large simply because it's easy to get lost. I also like to look at the level of activity in a group to make sure there's something going on and people are actually participating. One way to test this is to post your own questions and see if anything happens. Try to avoid groups that are too vendor laden simply because people get tired of hearing a sales pitch again and again and will leave the group. The nice thing about groups is that LinkedIn will allow you to join 50 groups at any given time so you can test as many as you like. See if they work for you, and if they do, stay, and if they don't, just leave. Many startups begin simply because they're trying to solve their own issue. Same thing here with groups. If you don't find one that fits you, go ahead and start one. I currently run 4 groups. I run one for the Candidates Chair. I run 2 for networking groups I belong to that didn't have any online presence, so I just created a LinkedIn group for the members. I also created one for my own profession in my home state. So if there's not a group out there that fits you, think about starting one. I will say, if you're going to start a group, you have to plan to dedicate some time in order to get the group moving. Not only do you have to find members, you're going to have to prime the pump in order to get the discussions going. The nice thing is, running a group really helps you stand out. Here's a couple other areas to consider. You can follow companies, ones of interest, and the nice thing is, it gives you news on the company, but also people that recently have been hired. You never know when a former colleague might end up in a company that you're interested in, and now there's a great connection for you. Answers are a great way to participate in the LinkedIn community by either asking a question or answering a question. In fact, many of my connections that I have now have come through answering questions for other people or them answering my questions. When it comes to events, take a look at what's going on in your city and maybe it'll give you an idea for some face-to-face networking that you want to participate in. The best way to learn all of these is just give them a try. Now there's lots of functions on LinkedIn that I didn't cover today. I chose these simply because they really improve my effectiveness and I did it without dedicating too much time. This has been Mark Richards, creator of CandidatesChair.com. Thanks for joining me today and good luck.